So we are going to, just so you kind of know what our schedule is, I haven't changed the board yet. For sure we're gonna be in this room this whole week because they're doing access testing. And then I'll let you know about next week. They might need a couple of days for like makeup. So I'll let you know about that. And then also we're finishing section 8.6 today. And then we spend 3 days on the last section. So that would be Thursday, Friday, Monday. And then I believe for this chapter, we might do 2 practice tests. So that would be Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we'll have a test next Thursday on all of chapter 8. Then we'll do a little bit in chapter 9 before we start reviewing for the MCA test. Okay? So, first of all, up until last Thursday, every triangle we did in this chapter had a right angle in it, so they were right triangles. Now for the rest of the chapter, we are dealing with triangles that are called oblique triangles, and they are triangles that do not have a right angle. So when we did right triangles, we did Pythagorean theorem if we knew 2 sides and we were looking for a side. In these triangles, you cannot do Pythagorean theorem. You can only do Pythagorean theorem if you have a right angle. So for the rest of this chapter, Pythagorean theorem is out. The other thing we learned is sine is opposite over hypotenuse and cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Those you can't use also if you have a right triangle. So what I'm going to teach you today is called law of sines, and that works for some of our triangles that are not right triangles. And then also we have some that are not right triangles that we have to use law of cosines for, and that's what we're learning the next 3 days after today. So what's going to happen today is you are going to be given certain things in a triangle, and then you're going to have to solve it, which means find the other things. And law of sines you can only use in these 2 situations here for what we're doing. So when it says angle, angle, side, do you guys remember that when we did congruent triangles? Like if you did, say that they told us this was 40, this was 60, and this side right here was 15. That's 2 angles in a row and then a side. So that's angle, angle, side, and that is a time that we can use law of sines, okay? The other thing is if we use angle, side, angle, okay? So if we were given a triangle that looked like this, okay, say this was 40 again, this was 15, and this was 60, that's angle, side, angle, and you can use law of sines for that, okay? Now there is one other way that you can do law of sines. Do you guys remember, I think I talked about this, when we did congruent triangles, did I talk about if it's ever angle, side, side, that's an ass triangle, we can't do that? Did I ever talk about that? So with law of sines, if you were ever given an angle, so say this was 40, and then you're given 2 sides in a row. So this is angle, side, side, or like they put it, side, side, angle. That is another time that you can use law of sines, but we don't do that in our class, and this is the reason. When you have angle, angle, side, which was that first one, you have 1 solution, so we do those. When you have angle, side, angle, you have 1 solution, so we do those. But when you have either side, side, angle, or angle, side, side, you can have 3 different types of solutions, and it gets confusing. So sometimes you'd get to a situation where you have no solution. Sometimes you'd have 1 solution, and sometimes you have 2 solutions. So because of that, I just skip this part, and then you will learn this when you do college trig. You'll do that triangle at that point, okay? So we're only doing angle, angle, side, angle, side, angle. So how does law of sines work? Okay, so you're gonna get a triangle today, and as I said, you're either gonna get angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle. In this one right here, can you guys tell that this is 2 angles in a row and then a side? So it's angle, angle, side. You don't have to write that, but that's what this one is. Now, another thing that happens with these is we have to solve them, so we have to find 3 missing things. And before we write down what's missing, what I do all the time is angle A, the side opposite that we call little a, okay? Then angle B, the side opposite it, we call little b. And if this is angle C, the side opposite that is little c, okay? Now, what is it that we don't know in this triangle? We do not know the measure of angle B, and we don't know little a, and we don't know little b, okay? Now, the one that's easiest to find is, could we find angle B right away? Yeah. Don't we add these 2 together, and then what would we do? Subtract from 180. So we're gonna do this. 15 plus 72, you don't have to show the work for this, but this is 87, and then you would subtract 87 from 180, and you would get 93. So that is angle B. I usually write it in there because we're gonna need that. And then I also come over here and write it there, okay? Now, when you go to find side A and side B, it doesn't matter which one you start first. You can find either one in whatever order. But here's the thing. When you go to do this, what law of sines is, you need to know an angle and its opposite side to be able to do law of sines. And if you notice, we know angle C and we know little c. So what that tells us is for law of sines, we're gonna start it with sine of C over little c. So if I go back and show you the formula for law of sines, it's this right here. It's sine of A over little a equals sine of B over little b, which equals sine of C over little c. And each time you're gonna use 2 of these ratios or fractions. You don't ever use all 3. So in this problem, because we know sine of C and little c, we're using that one. And then for sine of A over A or sine of B over B, the one that we use is the one that we're looking for, okay? And again, the order we do that in does not matter. So let's go back. And I'm gonna do sine of C over C. And let's say we wanna find A first. So what we're gonna do is go sine of A over little a, okay? And then I substitute in what I have. So I know angle C is 72. So this is sine of 72 over little c is 375. And then sine of A is sine of 15. And little a is what I'm looking for. That's the one I don't know. Okay? Anyone want to guess how we would start this if we're trying to solve it? What do you think? Yeah, cross multiply. So let's multiply this, and that's gonna be sine of 72 times A. Doesn't matter if you put the A in front or the behind, doesn't matter. And then this one, when you multiply this, you have to put the number in front of the trig function. So we're gonna go 375 sine of 15, okay? Now, we have to find this little a, and it's sine of 72 times a. So what we're gonna do is divide by sine of 72. Okay, now when you go to put this in your calculator, I do not like to use parentheses. So what I have to remember to do when I do this is hit enter after the 15 before I divide by sine of 72. Okay, so I can go 375 times sine of 15, enter, and then just go divide sine of 72, and I get 102.05. 102.05. And that is my little a. Is that what you guys got too? Okay, so that goes right here. And now we have to find little b. When I go to find little b, I have to do law of sines again. You cannot use Pythagorean theorem on these triangles. And why is that? Do you know? There's no right angle. Okay, so you have to keep reminding yourself of that. So here's what we're gonna do. We have to find sine of b. And again, we're gonna use sine of c over little c because we know those two. So sine of c over little c equals sine of b over little b. Okay. Now, sine of c would be sine of 72 over little c is 375. And that's going to equal sine of b, which is sine of 93, over little b, which is what I'm looking for. So again, what I have to do is cross products. So when I multiply this, I have sine 72b equals, and I'm going to put the whole number in front of the trig function. So 375 sine 93. And how do I get rid of this sine 72? I would divide. Okay. Now, when I do this, I have to hit enter right after the 93. Don't forget that. Okay. So if we get our calculators, we have 375 sine of 93, enter, and then we're gonna divide sine 72, enter. Is this what you guys got? 393.76. So little b is 393.76, and then that would go here. And then this would be our answer. So again, if you're doing this on your test next week, that would be 6 points, 2 points for each one. Okay, so they take a while for sure. Now this next one here is different, and I want to show you why it's different. This one, we know 2 angles in a row and then a side, so it's angle, angle, side. This one down here is actually angle, side, angle. so the side is in between, okay? That's the other case where you can use law of sines. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is write what don't we know in this one. And we don't know the measure of angle C. Now remember, I can label across from angle A as little a, across from angle C as little c, across from angle B as little b, okay? And then over here, I'm gonna put what I have to find. So I already wrote measure of angle C. I also need to find little a, and I need to find little b, okay? Which one's easy to do? The measure of angle C. I can just add together 37 plus 75, which would be what, 112? And then I would subtract that from 180, which is 68. So that's my angle C. Okay, so 37 plus 75 and subtract that from 180, and that gives this as 68. Okay, now the next thing that I need to do is find little a and little b, and again, it does not matter which one you do first, but when you do law of sines, you always need to know an angle and its opposite side. In this particular two examples, we always knew c and little c, but it's not always going to be that way. That's just the two examples I chose. So now I'm going to go sine of angle C over little c equals, and let's say we wanted to find little a first, I would do sine of a over little a, okay? Now sine of C is sine of 68. Little c is 22. Sine of a is sine of 37. And then little a is what we're looking for. And then again, that is when we do cross products. So I'm going to multiply these, and I get sine of 68a. You can put the a in front or behind, doesn't matter. Then when I multiply 22 times sine of 37, I'm going to put the 22 in front. Then I'm going to divide by sine of 68. These are gone. And when I punch this in, do not forget to hit enter. So when I go to do that, I get, so if I do 22 sine 37, enter, divide by sine 68. Did you guys get 14.28? Oops. So 14.28. Is that what you guys got? Yeah. So that's little a is 14.28. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find little b, and I'm going to stick with the fact that I know angle C and little c. So I'm going to start it with sine of C over little c, and then I'm going to set that equal to sine of B over little b, okay? So sine of C is sine of 68, little c is 22, sine of B is sine of 75, and then we're looking for little b, okay? So now when I go to do cross products here, I have sine 68b equals 22 sine 75, and then I have to divide by sine 68, And then the only thing you have to be careful of again is make sure you hit enter after sine 75. So if we try to do that, if I do 22 sine 75, enter, divide by sine 68. Did you guys get 22.92? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
22.92. Okay, and then that would go here. And those are your three. Okay, now if we go to the next page, we are not going to actually do, well, I can just tell you with this one, all you would do if you need to is, you know, like set this up, and angle A is 56, angle B is 38. Remember, little a would be opposite angle A, and then this would be little b, and this would be little c. So when they give it to you like that, just draw it out, and then you can tell what you need and what you're missing. Then I just wanted to show you this one. It's not going to be different, but I just want to show you. So sometimes what they'll do is give you different letters for your triangle, then A, B, and C. So this one gives you N, P, and Q, okay? They tell us angle P is 42, angle Q is 65, and little n, which is across from angle n, is 5, okay? So that means across from angle P is little p, across from angle Q is little q. So when you're deciding what do you have to find, you have to find the measure of angle n, you need to find little p, and you need to find little q, okay? Now, when you do law of sines, you have to know an angle and its opposite side. And right now when I look at this, I don't know both of those. But what could I do right off the bat? Find angle n. So I could add 42 plus 65, which is 107. Subtract that from 180, and I get 73. That is my angle n. Okay. And now, just so you guys see it's not any different, now I know angle n and little n. So I would go sine of n over little n equals, and let's say we're looking for little p, it would be sine of p over little p. Is that confusing when it has different letters? Okay. So your assignment then should be linked on, it should be linked on Schoology. So I don't think you have to copy this, but I do want to go to Schoology and show you something really quick. Okay, so if I open this up, it tells you here which ones to do also. But if I open this up, we're doing the day 2, and I just want to show you. So on the first page, 7, 8, and 11 is what I taught you today, and I just want to make sure. Okay, so for the second page, I gave you 6 through 11. Oh, shoot. I gave you 6 through 11 and 13, and I just want to explain this. 6 and 7 are where you find the area of the triangle. And do you remember that's what we did last week? Where you went 1/2 times the 2 sides times the sine of the angle. Do you kind of remember that? So 6 and 7, that's what you do for those. You're just using the area formula that we used last Thursday, okay? And it says on the top of this, when you open it up, what to do for day 2. Okay, everybody understand? So on the top of your sheet, if you would write section 8.6 day 2 worksheet. Section 8.6 day 2 worksheet. And I did have an assignment last week, you guys. Okay, you want me to put your name on there?
Yeah. I was wondering what was missing.
Yeah, if that ever happens, just let me know if, or ask if I have a missing assignment.
Sorry.
No problem.